listening to the Solano Paranormal Podcast, where the unknown meets investigation. From haunted locations to unexplained encounters, we dive deep into the mysteries that surround us. With your host, Mitch McLean, get ready to explore the truth beyond the veil.
Welcome back, Truth Seekers. You're listening to the Solano Paranormal Podcast, and I am your host, Mitch McLean, and this is episode 2, Haunted Homes When Spirits Refuse to Leave. Ooh. Scary Roman, scary Micah, scary Eddie, huh? Sounds like a good episode, would you say? All right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure. Man, it's going to be good. Some good segments, so get yourself ready, like close the curtains, dim the lights, lock the doors, grab yourself a hot drink, all the good stuff, and sit back and get ready for some magic. All right, so last week we introduced our team and our mission, well, some of our team. This week we get more of our team to introduce you to, and this week we're digging into something that hits closer to home, literally. What happens when you feel you're not alone in your house, but you are? What if your sanctuary becomes a source of fear? Today we're talking about haunted homes, the stories, the signs, the science, and the spirits that just won't move on. Now, like I said, this segment, one of the segments we're having today is going to literally hit home, because for a couple of our investigators, they've got paranormal activity going on in their home. Micah and Eddie have got some paranormal activity going on in their home. They're going to talk about it a little later on in one of our segments. Roman has had some paranormal activity in his life and in his home. He's going to talk about those a little later as well. So it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. All right, Roman, over to you for segment 2, brother.
All right, what makes a home haunted? First things first, what do we mean by haunted? A haunted home isn't just spooky vibe. It's a location with consistency, unexplained phenomena, cold spots, unusual noises, moving objects, apparitions, emotional disturbance. Sometimes it's tied to the land, and other times it's tied to the traumatic event, or even the people living in it. We often categorize hauntings as residual, like a memory on repeat, no interaction; intelligent, the spirit is aware, responsive, and sometimes emotional; poltergeist, often chaotic or destructive, not always a ghost, possibly a psychic energy; inhuman, rare, dark entities, a topic we'll explore next. What do you think?
Oh, man. Well, what got me right away about the segment there you introduced, Roman, is you and I off air were just talking about this before we started the poltergeist stuff, and how poltergeist activity is often not actually a spirit. It's psychically created by someone's own energy. They basically will the activity into existence by the power of their own mind. And it's often done by traumatized teenagers. That's what you often think about, guys, isn't it? When you hear about poltergeist activity, it's often spirals around like teenage girls, for example.
Oh yeah, I guess so. I guess it does. But I feel like some of it follows my sister too. She's definitely manifested some things.
Yeah.
When she gets to the house, it's crazier.
Yeah, poltergeist activity.
I believe that.
Yeah, poltergeist activity can definitely be like a spirit on its own, like a noisy ghost, like the word in German means noisy ghost, poltergeist. But it can often be. It can often be just that, a manifestation of your own brain, and it's often, and if you do the research and you look into past cases, it nearly always surrounds teenagers. It starts off with teenagers, or there's a teenager in the environment, because teenagers often feel very traumatized, whether in fact they are traumatized or not, but teenagers often feel very traumatized in their life. And during those traumatic periods, they're very susceptible to especially demonic attack.
Is it for both male and female? Or
yeah, both male and female, but for some reason in the statistics, females are more commonly attacked. Now, I don't know if anybody's got any ideas of why that might be.
I think it would probably have something to do with how women are just probably more empathetic just naturally to like their surroundings and just really anything. And as men, I think we'd probably just be more skeptical and not and discount a lot of the things that we would see or hear. And I think a lot of times if we discount the spirits or whatever the case may be, they maybe won't attach themselves as much or won't manifest themselves as much as maybe like a woman or a female that maybe is more empathetic to that type of energy, and they get more drawn to that type of person.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. I mean, I guess again, something Roman and I had been talking about was the fact that once these spirits recognize that you see them, so once an empathetic female is aware of them, spirits become very aware very fast that they can be seen or heard by a person, and they're automatically drawn to that energy. So it's a natural. It stands to reason that someone who is very open-minded, very empathetic, very sensitive to their environment and their surroundings, would be essentially a doorway or a conduit to the spirit world. You know? Yeah.
Being a conduit to something like that, it would definitely take. It's not just the spirit's energy; it's going to be your own energy and how you respond to something that you see, feel, or sense in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Sad part is they don't even know they're doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like what we're talking about spooky vibes, cold spots, unusual noises, moving objects, apparitions, and emotional disturbances. Now, who has experienced stuff like this? Cold spots, unusual noises, moving objects, or apparitions, or emotional disturbances in their own home. You guys have experienced that in your own home, those kind of things?
Yes, very much so. In the home that we live in now, there's been a lot of unusual noises. Is I think what kind of started with us is a lot of banging.
Okay.
Things that it almost the one that I think that kept happening to us over and over again. It hasn't happened in a minute, but that kept happening to us over and over again. Was it sounded like somebody was in the attic and just was banging on a wall or the trusses and stuff like that. It sounded like somebody was literally running into a wall, but it was coming from a very particular area. It was always at night. Um, and I multiple times I went up there and tried to look. I thought maybe, I don't know, a raccoon or whatever
Absolutely.
could have been up there, and there was nothing that I could really explain. Um, Nothing that I could really see. It yeah, like we always talk about, it was just really unexplainable uh, type noises
Yeah.
that kept coming pretty much around the same time almost every night, right around probably around 10:30 is I think.
Wow.
And it kind of frightened us in the sense that if they could move or if they could make that type of sound, like what other types of things they could do.
Right.
And
That's always it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, when you're experiencing that kind of stuff, and there's that knowledge that if they can hit that with so much power that it's vibrating, and I can actually feel that effect. What
Right.
else can they do? Can they actually hurt me? Can they hurt my family? What can I, it sets it all off. Anyway, keep those thoughts there because you guys are going to be running a segment in a couple of minutes and you guys are going to be talking a lot more about what's going on in your home and different things. So let's keep it going here. So emotional disturbances, to me, that would be one of the most terrifying things about a haunting in your home and the emotional side of it. we seen firsthand the emotional side of a haunting when we done the Rio Vista investigation, and we seen how much it took out of Sylvia emotionally. That
Right.
woman was an emotional wreck. You know what? Not only was she losing her husband at the time, she was going through a traumatic attack of some sort from a demon or a spirit that was being playing games and playing peekaboo with us. We had to chase it down around that house before we actually got it on the XLS camera and narrowed it down to where it was. And then we got the 2 hits. But Sylvia, for example, was emotionally distraught, you know, and you often find that this is people's homes. It's the most supposed to be the safest place in the world that you go to, and you feel attacked, you feel vulnerable, you feel exposed, and all of those things. And it's like, what can you do to protect yourself? Other than doing things like getting your home blessed, doing smudging ceremonies. Micah, that's something you're into a lot, yes?
Yes. Yep. For sure.
Yep. Can you tell us a little bit about a smudging ceremony? About what actually you'll do during a smudging ceremony in a client's
sure.
home, for example?
Yeah. So, of course, you got to protect yourself first before you start. There's you can say, I kind of just go with whatever I'm feeling right then and make sure my energy is clear. Which I know sounds kind of crazy, but just make sure I'm in the right headspace. And then I'll go into the house and open up all the windows and all the doors. Yep. And I start at the top. Furthest away from the door, and I'll make sure I understand what the client wants, because sometimes they want me to throw a religious spin on it, or it'll be just a general Mother Earth. So I like to meet with them and get that feeling first and see what kind of energy they want me to bring into the house or clear from the house. Some folks are okay with, as long as you're not here to harm me and you're here to help me, cool, you can hang out. Right. And there's some people that just don't want to be bothered at all. So you just start at the top and work your way down, keep repeating your mantra. Okay. And in the past too, I've used, for my own house, I'll carry a speaker around with me with some high vibration music on, because that's a high vibration, better energy feel. So I do sometimes too. And then you kind of seal the doors and seal the windows and bless all the openings. And I've done salt too, Himalayan sea salt. I put in bags of salt by doors.
I guess the idea is to chase. Yeah, I guess the idea is to chase the spirit from one side of the house, through the house, out all the rooms, out all the closets, out all the openings, out the doors and windows. And then, like you said, you're sealing them to prevent those spirits from returning.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Well, that sounds interesting. That sounds really good. And we're going to maybe try and arrange a smudging for Sylvia down in the Rio Vista haunting. We're going to try and maybe down there and do another investigation at some point. So stay tuned for that, guys. All right. So we're going on to segment 3, and we're going to talk about a local case. Okay. We're going to talk about a local case, and then we're going to go in depth and have a little conversation about it. All right. So let me tell you about one of our more memorable local cases. We'll call it the Cordelia Farmhouse. Now, this is an old case file, not from us, but let's just present it anyway. They contacted this team in 2023. They were experiencing flickering lights, footsteps in the attic, and whispers from empty rooms. Their 10-year-old daughter said she spoke with the woman in the mirror almost every night. Now, the team conducted a full investigation over 2 nights. They conducted they documented multiple unexplained cold spots, EMF spikes in areas with no electronics, and audio captured a clear EVP of a woman saying, "I see you." Now, later research revealed the home was built on land where a settler woman was murdered in the 1860s. Now, the team helped the family set boundaries and cleanse the home, and while activity decreased, they occasionally still hear whispers. Some spirits don't want to scare, they just don't want to be forgotten. And I think that's a very poignant point. Spirits are like people. You know, they don't want to be unnoticed. They want to be noticed. They want to be recognized. But that sounds like a fascinating case file. And especially when their 10-year-old daughter said that she spoke with a woman in the mirror almost every night. Now, that kind of reminds me of, I think, a story that I told you guys. I think some of you guys, I might have told it, where I had... Now, do you guys remember back in the 70s, there used to be a poster that the parents would put up in the walls, and it was of a little boy and girl facing each other, holding hands, and it was down a tree-lined street. The little boy and girl were standing in the middle of the street, facing each other, like reaching out their hands, holding hands. Little boy had a little hat on, and the little girl had a little dress on, and then it was a street lined with trees. A very random poster, very plain poster that I've seen everywhere in Scotland in the 70s. Now, I used to see my maternal grandfather, who was dead, in the bottom left of this poster. For some reason, I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I used to talk to this poster, and I thought it was very normal. And I'd be standing there with conversations with this poster, and for some reason, I identified the voice as my granda, who had passed away. Now, I'd only met my grandfather when I was a baby. He died when I was just a young baby. So I never grew up knowing him. So I didn't know what his voice sounded like. I didn't know what he looked like, really, because it's not like at 5 or 6 year old, your mom's breaking out the family photos and showing you who everybody is. You know, you're a little young for that stuff yet. So I was standing here in front of this poster talking, and my mom came upstairs one day, and she came in the room, and she was carrying a basket of clothes, and she was like, "Who are you talking to?" And I pointed to the poster, and I said, "I'm talking to my granda." And she dropped the washing basket and about frozen because she's a staunch Roman Catholic. So she was like, "Oh my God, there's a ghost, there's demons." And she freaked out and stuff. But that was one of the things that happened to me as a child. And just the mirror thing reminded me kind of that, like being that young and seeing things and reflections or seeing things and objects. Again, it goes back to what we were talking about with young children. I mean, they're so susceptible to this stuff.
Yeah, I think with kids, they're just so open to different things. I mean, if you look at a young child, they're constantly learning, constantly observing, and they don't really know what is real or fake, however you want to put it. So I think they're just so open to different ideas, messages, whatever the case may be. Where for us, once we get older, once we get to a certain age, you start being very skeptical of different things that you might see, things that you might feel.
Yeah.
Where a child is, they're seeing, they're feeling things pretty much every day for the first time, and I think they're just more open to that kind of idea, that kind of energy that they might experience.
For sure. I think that's 100% right, Eddie. Children are open. They're not aware of the adult world yet, of responsibilities and necessities of an adult world. They're not burdened with those things yet. They've got an innocent mind of a child. So they're so much more open. And I would argue that children see paranormal activity all the time. They just don't identify it as paranormal activity. They think it's just normal. Like they might see another child in their house. They might be like 3 or 4 years old, and they see it, and they see another child in their house, and they think, oh, their little brain just thinks, oh, there's another child in the house. Who's that baby?
Yeah.
You know, let's go say hello. And you, next thing you
Right.
know, you're seeing your little 3-year-old having a conversation with someone in the corner that isn't there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's crazy. The younger you are, you're not burdened by the adult brain and the adult responsibilities that kind of, I guess, close you off somewhat to the paranormal side of things. You're so focused on your daily routine, getting up, going to work, taking care of your family, all the stuff, and doing your daily chores that you there could be stuff going on around you all over the place, and you're just not noticing it because you're dealing with adult stuff. You're having to be a big boy or a big girl,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I think once you become an adult, if you see things or you feel things or you hear something, you are more apt just
Oh yeah,
dispel it. You know, oh, you know that was just the house settling, or if you feel something cold, well, I'm underneath the AC vent or whatever the case may be. We're just kind of more apt to just say it's normal or whatever the case may be.
right. No, absolutely true. I mean, it's weird because all my paranormal stuff all happened to me as a child, and I think I definitely shut it off. I shut it off intentionally as a child because it terrified me, because it was happening every night. I mean, I told you guys stories of feeling someone sitting on my bed at night time and stuff
Right.
like that, and hearing whispering in my room and stuff, and I swear I would pass out with fear. And I think I get so terrified with those events that as I get a little older, I learned to block it out, and I turned myself off to it. So part of my whole struggle now, and part of my journey with this team, is to open myself up again to the paranormal and let it in, and see how that journey goes, and see what kind of activity shows itself. Because now I'm growing up, I'm more able to handle it. I'm not going to be so scared and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, all right. You guys want to take it away with segment 4?
Micah, you gonna do it?
Yeah. However, I think can you hear me okay and see me okay? Because everything keeps freezing on my side over here.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right. Okay, cool. So for segment 4, common signs of haunted home, which is something that we see often. Do you wonder if your home's haunted? Well, here's some things that we've experienced and that you can look for, like unexplained noises, like Eddie had mentioned earlier, bangs and footsteps, whispers, voices. Man, footsteps. That's a big one. We get footsteps a lot because we have a 2-story house, and we'll be sitting downstairs watching TV, and it's very, very clearly somebody is walking upstairs, like weekly. Wouldn't you think?
Wow.
Shoot, daily.
Man, also cold and hot spots, sudden changes in temperatures, with objects moving. We haven't really dealt with that too much. Objects moving or missing. Electrical disturbances, that's a big one that we go through. Electronics malfunctioning, that happens pretty often. Unusual pet behavior. We have 3 dogs, and that's definitely one. Also, growling at empty rooms, not wanting to go in certain areas. Maybe they're barking at just an empty corner. Seeing apparitions or shadows. Something else we've unfortunately experienced. From seeing glimpses to whole body apparitions. Thankfully, I can't think of any whole body apparitions that I've seen. But different feelings of being watched. I've felt that a lot, like somebody's just standing there and staring at you, especially like in specific rooms or at a certain time. Not every bump in the night's paranormal, but consistent patterns deserve attention for sure. Going back up to the unexpected, like that's easily the biggest one I feel for us. And see, they're getting fussy right now. Who knows what's
Do they do that regularly? Do they get like that often?
Goodness. Hang on just a sec.
Sure. Yeah, the one of the things. So when we lived in Florida, we had a single story home, and we experienced a lot of different things when we were out in Florida.
Yeah.
That we can get into. Like the footsteps was the biggest thing. We had wood floors, and
Right.
in our home, our son, he was young, and he slept pretty much completely the opposite side of our where our bedroom was. And what we could always hear whenever he would get out of his bed or whatever in the middle of the night, he would come to our bedroom, for whatever reason it might be. He woke up, he was scared, whatever. And he would always run barefoot. So you could hear, his feet on the wood floor making that, like slapping sound.
Uh-huh.
So after a while, what was crazy was we would hear that sound, and we would swear that he was running into our room. So we would sit there and start and wait for him to walk in our room, and he wasn't coming.
Right.
So we would
Oh
just
my
hear
God.
those footsteps, and it turned into where I would get up or Micah would get up and go check on him, and he would be sound asleep in his bed,
Oh my
and
God.
it was you know uh it was clearly footsteps, bare
Yeah.
footsteps, and it happened, gosh, dozens and dozens of times throughout the years that we lived there. And it was probably the most I would say that I was skeptical. I believed, but I was very skeptical at the same time.
Right.
And when those types of things started happening, and amongst some other stuff, but that was probably the most common thing that we would run into in our home in Florida, was the footsteps of. And I don't know if it was purposefully mimicking what what it would sound like for him to be running into our room, or if it was just something that
Yeah.
that was ended up happening. But it
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then here in our home now, we have a second story, and with wood floors and things like that upstairs, you can hear creaking and that, and you can tell, like, if myself or if Micah or somebody else is upstairs.
Yeah.
There's especially there's particular spots where the floor will creak if somebody is walking, and we'll be downstairs watching TV, and now it's just me and Micah that live in our house, and you can just hear somebody walking upstairs, just same spots, like creaking and everything. And we'll just kind of look up, and Micah and I will look at each other, and we're just like, oh, there they go.
There we are again.
it
My
just kind
God.
of it's just kind of normal now to us.
Yeah. And that's strange, when it becomes so normal that you just kind of shake your head and laugh at it. You know what I
Pretty
mean?
much.
It's not actually doing you any harm. It's not hurting
Right.
you. It's not really affecting your life,
Right.
but it's there. It's just there and present.
Yeah, you can just kind of see, or not necessarily see, but you can kind of feel that energy. You can
Mhm.
just kind of tell where, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes you'll say, oh, the house is settling, but if it happens over and over and over again, eventually it's, the house isn't settling anymore. It has to be something,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, have you guys ever done any research on your home, like when it was built, who previous owners, any of that kind of stuff, to find out if there was any kind of maybe deaths or anything like that in the home before you guys lived there? Or
So our home is new. It's a new build. But where this neighborhood was built is actually out here near a hill where they used to do a lot of mining for gosh, babe, what am I trying to think of? Cement. They call it
Cement,
Cement
it's
Hill.
Cement
So
Hill.
they used to do a lot of.
oh, Cement
Yeah.
Hill, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right up, I don't know, within half a mile, whatever the case may be, is where a lot of those uh, factories and whatever the case may be were. So I know that there was used to be like they used to have pretty much a small city in this area where a lot of people used to live and work, and whatever the case may be. So I know there's a lot of history here. We haven't been able to find anything specific, concrete, but
right,
just with that, with all the minerals and things like that that are in the hill, there's also
right,
a couple blocks away is Puda Creek, where we have the water that, kind of runs through here as well. So I
Yeah.
know there's a lot of energy, a lot of history in this area, where it wouldn't surprise me if it was, you know, it could be a number of things, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was, some sort of death nearby or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And plus, a lot of this land in Solano County is built on old Indian land.
Yeah, very
So
much.
there's always the potential of having residual energy from past times when the Indians owned the land and stuff like that. And,
Right.
that could all be just residual transitory spirits that just that maybe pass through your house once on their journey to wherever they're going. You know what I
Right.
mean? The land can be a powerful thing itself, especially where there's running water, like you said.
Hmm.
Running water is like electricity charged to the spirits. It gives them, there's lots of reports and evidence and suggestion that paranormal activity is enhanced anywhere around running water.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
So
with that, you have that energy from the water itself. Water not only produces energy, but it stores energy. Um, Also, with that, where you were saying, a lot of Native Americans, a lot of Indians were in this area. Obviously, they're going to be around a lot of different water sources and that kind of thing. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, there could be a lot to it. A lot to it.
yeah. Now, Roman, you've had stuff happen in your home as well. Why don't you? We've got a couple of minutes left of this segment. Why don't you give us a rundown of kind of some of the stuff that's happened in your home over the years?
I've got so much. I don't know which one's to pull out. I can't think of one right now. I don't want to talk about the demonic attack. That's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little too personal.
yeah.
Um, well, okay. There's one of this house we rented. There strange things would happen. You'll hear a voice at night. I caught it in my security camera, and it says "help me." It's really deep. And then in that house, someone had passed. And in fact, when we removed the carpets to put a like a panel, you saw that the blood stains of that person was still on the
Oh my
carpet.
God!
Yeah, it was kind of
Wow.
nasty. You'd see shadow figures. But there was one figure that I caught. It was kind of crazy. I'm going to share it with Mitch, but it's this dark image. I mean, it's sinister. It's so black. It voids light. It's just like a silhouette of a cutout, and you can see the height. You can see the figure. The weird thing about this figure is it jumps. No, it pops up. It jumps, and then comes back up. The weird thing is if you try to rewind it to watch it, back and forth, backwards, it's moving forward like it's the same pattern. I don't know how someone would do that. I've never seen any videos that can make a character go jump, and then when you rewind it, it's still the same motion. You don't know if it's going backwards or forward, but it's the same motion.
Right.
It's crazy. You
My
gotta
God.
see it.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can tell it's demonic. It's dark.
Yeah.
It has no features. It's just dark.
Oh.
The good thing is that nothing harmful.
Man, thankfully I haven't experienced anything like that.
No, it's weird. It's like I said, you don't know if it's when you play it backwards, it's doing the same thing as it's doing forward. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because I thought maybe,
That's
if someone was
crazy.
screwing.
That's
I
crazy.
thought maybe my neighbors were screwing with me, because maybe they think I'm paranoid or something because, there are people who lived upstairs, right? And so at times I would think someone is just trying to, mess with me.
Yeah.
Ruin my frame of thoughts and make me insane. But when I sat there thinking about it, how would someone create a video of something moving from one direction to the other, play it backwards to see exactly what's going on, but it looks like it's still going from one
So
to the other.
doing the same thing, yeah.
Yeah. And then there was actually one time that I pressed record, and there's this beautiful angelic voice that once you press record, it says it wants to know your name, a whispery voice. And that kind of scared me because,
Ooh.
if you believe in God, God knows your name. But when it says it wants to know your name, that was kind of different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. God would need to know your
Yeah,
name. God
he
knows
calls
your
us.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but unless I misheard her, and I want to know your name, could be that. But
Right.
it's clear but very low, but you can hear every word, every syllable, and it's very angelic.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's right when you press record, not a pause.
Mhm.
Like if it was a trick, you press record, then someone will come in. But
Right.
this one knew exactly when I pressed record because it started there. Oh, one more thing. When this was all happening, I recorded myself saying the Lord's Prayer,
Right.
just to do it. But this thing manipulated what I said at playback. Every time I said Jesus' name, it would muffle. It sounds different, and every words were like changed. It was crazy. I still got the recording, and I'll play that for you.
Oh wow. That's kind of crazy.
The good thing is, I know it's manipulating the instrument, but not the words. Really, it's just
Right.
the instrument.
Right.
So I did it again, knowing that it's just playing with the instrument. So when I did it again, it recorded perfectly.
Right.
So it was weird. Those are weird events.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, folks, time to move on. And we're moving on to segment 5. All right. Roman,
Oh, is that me?
your segment 5 is you, I believe.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. If it's not, I apologize, but you're having it anyway.
Let me get there. All right. Segment 5. Listener story. I should wear glasses.
See, I was smart. I put mine on to begin with. I knew I was going to need them.
All right, here we go. Listener story. The upstairs room. The listener story comes from Devin Sassoon. He writes, I moved into an older rental with my girlfriend. The house was charming, but from day one, the upstairs room gave us the creeps. We kept that door closed, but things kept happening. The cat would meow at the door all night. We'd hear footsteps upstairs when no one's at home. One night I went up and found the light on. Neither of us had been up there for all week. We started hearing breathing sounds at night. My girlfriend swears she saw someone standing at the top of the stairs, but when I looked, no one was there. We broke the lease a month early. Don't think we were welcome there. Devin, thank you for sharing that. Your story mirrors many of what we've heard. The space that feels occupied, whether the living are living or not. That's
Yeah.
Man. I would jump out too.
Yeah, cancel the lease for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're only leasing somewhere and you start getting like ghostly stuff going on that bad and things.
Well, the good thing about Eddie and Micah is they share it. They both can talk about it.
Yeah,
Most people
absolutely.
can't.
That's true.
It's gonna be a mental drain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that happens a lot of the times. People move into homes and they find it so charming to begin with. Think, oh my God, the new house, it's the house of my dreams, everything's going to be perfect. And then they go in there and then stuff starts happening and then it all goes downhill and then they're just looking for a way out. And a lot of times, you don't have a way out either because you financially can't afford the way out.
Yeah.
You can't afford to just break a lease on a property and bail out. You know what I mean? For a lot of people, I'm sure that's the case.
The weight of that fright is a lot, and you can't share it.
No. Oh my gosh. And
I've always found interesting how some of these houses, just the people, where somebody might experience something within, like this person, it seems like it happened immediately, and then somebody else could live there for 20 years and not have any experiences or not see anything. And I always wondered like what it is about an individual person. Is it the spirit that wants to talk to that person? Is it that person is vulnerable, or are they just empathetic?
yeah.
Or,
Yeah. Well, I think like I kind of gave an example earlier. Ghosts go to where they know they can be seen or heard or noticed and acknowledged. So when they go, they're not going to go to those people who are kind of more closed off or are just not aware of it, not paying. They're not in that mindset. The ghosts aren't going to pay attention. The spirits aren't going to pay attention to those types of people because they're not going to get what they want from it. So they're going to pay attention to those that are, like you mentioned earlier, Eddie, that are empathetic and all that kind of stuff, and just way more open to this kind of thing. But I tell you, if that had happened to me in a house, I don't know how I could deal with it. I've never been in a haunted house where I've heard stuff like footsteps. I've heard whispering, had someone sit on my bed, but I've never had like footsteps or stuff move. Other than one time, it was the weirdest thing. It was a pen. I had this pen. I was young, and I used to love writing when I was younger, and I had this pen that my mom had bought me, and I lost it. I basically was writing with it. I dropped it, looked in the floor for it, and couldn't find it. Like it had dropped and hit the floor, and poof, gone. It had vanished. And I said, I'd pull that room apart for that pen, and I was like, I just dropped it on the freaking floor. It must be here. And I'd be searching the floor, and I never found that pen. Then about 4 or 5 years later, that pen turned up in my bedroom.
Wow.
That pen turned up in my bedroom 4 or 5 years later, just out of the blue, turned up in my room, just there like it had never been gone, on the side of my bed, with my papers and all this stuff.
Yeah. Somewhere you'd looked probably a million times.
I'd looked a million times all over the damn house for it. I knew fine well it wasn't there. I'd asked my mom, did you find my pen and put it back? She was like, no.
How would she get it in the first place?
Exactly. How would she get it in the first place? I mean, she could have found it when she was cleaning my room, I guess, or something, but it just vanished. I swear, because it hit the ground. I was like, oh my God, my pen. And started on the ground looking for it and looking under my bed, like, where the hell did it go? You're looking in one little place to begin with because you think, it can't have gone that far. And then all of a sudden, next thing you're pulling your wardrobes apart and you're like,
right.
Taking the walls off and stuff. Where's my pen?
That's a cool story, though. I mean, that experience, something you can keep. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that I've had through my life. You've had more personal stuff that you're not really want to talk about on camera and stuff. Not yet, anyway.
I want to get your blessing before.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've had a lot of stuff going in your life. And it's continued through your adulthood as well as your childhood.
It still does.
And it still does. Yeah. And your family experiences a lot of this stuff too.
Yeah. In workplaces.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy. I mean,
this brings me back to what Eddie was saying about his house, and maybe the people who lived there before never experienced anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if that was happening, but they just never sensed it? And let's say Eddie and Micah was very sensitive to this, because obviously they are, because the house before they felt and heard, because, right? I mean, they could be
for sure
the reason.
Yeah, absolutely right.
They're very sensitive to something that's already happening.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, yeah.
Because I'm sure when they bought the house, no one said, "Oh, there's kind of some noises."
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's certain places now where certain cities or certain counties and stuff where if something is happening or you hear noises or whatever, you're supposed to disclose it. Because
you're supposed to basically it's an addendum that goes with the house that says the house comes attached with ghosts.
I mean, I know about if there was a death in the house.
Yeah, no, you have to if you suspect there's ghosts in the house or anything like that, and then you go to sell it in some places, you're supposed to declare it.
So now it's more real to people than what it used to be.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, and there's more people believing in it, and more people definitely want to know whether when they're buying a new house, whether it comes with any added tenants.
Well, you said
For sure.
something interesting when you said when the COVID hit, everyone started feeling it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. When COVID hit, that's because if on the website, if you guys check it out, I compiled a report about paranormal activity going over the last 10 years, and I focused on the question: has paranormal activity increased over the last 10 years? And if so, what the causes may be. Oh, we lost Eddie.
I said, hang on just a sec.
Ghost encounter.
So what do you think, when you saw that report? Was it more? Was there,
What it said was over
during the
the
COVID
years.
time, was there more?
Yeah, over the COVID times, the paranormal activity seemed to increase. More sightings, more reports of paranormal activity, things like that. So, what can you attribute that to? Well, there's a lot more people home from their jobs during COVID. They were home, they were paying attention more.
Yeah.
They were aware of their environment more because they didn't have so many distractions anymore. What's he doing?
Yeah, so they're really listening then, because they're really there all the time instead of yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, well, let's move on, guys. We got about 15 minutes left. We're going to move on to segment 6. All right. Eddie, you want to run with segment 6?
Sure. All right. So we're going to talk about how do we investigate haunted homes. When we investigate a haunted home, we follow a strict process. First, we like to interview. We gather history and witness accounts and events and timelines. That's going to be important to get kind of like we talked about backgrounds and maybe the history of the house, history of the land, and where the house actually is. We also like to do a baseline sweep. We log environmental readings like EMF, temperature, and humidity, etc. We'd like to do an audio visual setup where we place recorders, cameras, and spirit boxes in key areas throughout the house, usually in places where, like in Sylvia's house, where we saw a lot of different activity. We like to put the EMF detector in her bedroom, for example. We also like to do the actual active investigation where we go and we observe and we question and we document, and then we review every hour of the footage is analyzed. Important thing that I think we've seen ourselves, and then also seen if you ever watch any kind of like shows and things like that, is when you're doing the actual active investigation, you might not see everything in real time. Where if you go back and review, I'm sure Mitch, you've probably seen a million different things. You go
Yeah.
back and you go back and review and see something where you maybe didn't see it originally, where it was actually happening. And then also the debrief. We like to explain the different findings to the client and provide resources of spiritual or psychological support. And we're not there to really to dramatize, but we're there to document and validate what is actually happening. If anything is happening, for example. I know we saw a lot of different things over at Sylvia's house in that one particular investigation that we did over in Rio Vista.
Yeah, for sure. And that word you used there, Eddie, validate, how important a word that is. Again, something Roman and I had been kind of talking about is what do clients want when they ask us to come investigate their home or their business or their building or whatever it is. What do they want from us? They want validation. They want someone to tell them they're not crazy, that
Yeah.
we sense it too, or we see it too, or we've documented it. They want that validation. It's such an important word in paranormal research. Validation.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I think even just in our individual, for example, me and Micah, whenever we hear or see something here in our home, usually one of the first things we do is we look at each other, like, did you hear
Mhm.
that? Did you feel that? Did you
Yep.
see that? Whatever the case may be, because it validates, like you said, like what we saw or what we felt, and at the same
Yeah.
time, like, uh, for lack of a better term, like you said, like, am I crazy? Like,
Yeah.
am I just seeing things? Is it, was it a flicker? Was it whatever the case may be? But the more people see it, the more, uh, if you can get actual audio recording or video recording, like Roman had, has some video and some things that he saw and some audio recordings and some things that he heard.
Yeah.
That's all. Obviously, that's some validation that he's actually experiencing those different things.
No, for sure. For sure. Now, it's important way we talk about how we investigate haunted homes and haunted areas, locations, whether it be an inside location or an outside location. We investigate. There's always a strict protocol of stuff that we do, and the interview to begin with is always important because that gives us a good insight to the mindset of the client. It gives us a kind of little bit of access to the psyche of the client, what they're thinking, what they're looking for, what they've experienced, how it's affected them, how it's continuing to affect them. So that interview is you gather all sorts of important information from the initial interview, and we always do one. We'll always go down and interview the client, set up a camera, do an on-camera interview, document as much history, as much of um, the evidence as we can collect from that person about their stories or their own personal testimonies about what's happened. And then we do a baseline sweep of the premise during the pre-investigation walkthrough and interview phase. We'll go around with EMF meters and some other technology, and measure the surrounding environment, make sure there's no hot spots, and if there is any hot spots, we'll try and rule out any electrical interference for one. There might be wires in the wall, or it might be a fan that's running that's causing interference, different things like that. So you've got to rule all that kind of stuff out as well. And we try and do all that during the baseline sweep before we do the investigation. Then that way, when we go into the investigation, we know exactly where we're going to get those hits, and we potentially know what's causing them.
Yeah, yeah. I think the baseline is a really important part of it because obviously, this is really a lot of unknowns that we're trying to validate. But if you have a baseline, you can have more of a scientific approach to it because like you said, is there wires? Is there the fuse box is right on this wall, so that's why the EMF reading is really high in this particular area, or there might be a cold spot over here because that's where the fan blows or whatever the case may be, and we're not gonna um,
Right.
confuse that to something where paranormal, where we know no, this is normal. This is
Yeah.
we know why this is happening.
Yeah. And we're always, as investigators, we're always trying to rule out our own evidence. We're always trying to discredit our own evidence because that's our job. Our job is to discredit our own evidence and show that it's not paranormal. If you exclude the rational, what you're left with is the paranormal.
Right.
So you got to view it from that perspective. You can do all the investigating you want, but you've got to do it from the perspective of you're going to try and discredit your own evidence. You're going to try and say, no, that wasn't a shadow figure I seen there. What piece of evidence can I use to replicate that situation, that environment, and maybe capture it on something measurable? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the measurable part I think is always very important, which is one of the reasons I like some of those different readings, like the EMF and humidity and temperature
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, because those are um, very specific things. Where, say, something messes with your electronics or whatever the case may be, you can't necessarily explain that. Maybe it was just a glitch, that kind of thing. But if you have a EMF spike or you have a rapid change in temperature, it's really hard to explain those different type of things where, like you said, you might just be left with, this is a paranormal experience.
Right. Yeah, you were losing your audio a little bit there, Eddie. I don't know. I think maybe, don't know, was your internet, whatever, losing your audio a little bit. Micah, did you hear that too on your end?
All I could hear was kind of static. That's what I had to step off for a sec. I was having issues myself. So, yeah.
No worries, no worries. Okay, no worries, guys. Well, that was a great segment. I really enjoyed that segment, how we investigate haunted homes. I love talking about our equipment and how we investigate and stuff like that. All right, so in segment 7, advice for listeners. So what do you think if you think your home is haunted? What do you do if you think your home is haunted? Well, here's a couple of suggestions. Stay calm. Most hauntings are harmless. Like Micah and Eddie have been telling us, their haunting is basically harmless. It's not affecting them. It's noises, it's footsteps, it's banging, but there's no ill effects. And that's the same with most hauntings. So stay calm and don't panic. Document as many of these events as you can. Note times, sounds, feelings, and the events themselves, as much detail as you can. Keep a detailed documentation of all these events, all these feelings, all these sounds, and all this stuff that happens to you, because when you look back on it, you're going to be able to discern patterns and different occurrences. You may be able to discern different spirits actually from the way you feel or the way they talk to you, or things you hear or see. You know, so keep a track of all that stuff. Check for natural causes, drafts, loose wiring, and floor creaks. Like we were talking about, try and disprove your own evidence. Look for the drafty ceiling. Look for the AC that's on blowing the cold air out. Look for the loose wiring in your wall that's causing your EMF meter to go off. Your floor creaking. Is it just the house settling? Is it just wood contracting and expanding with the temperature? So try and check natural causes as much as possible. Now, here's a big one. Avoid provoking. Do not challenge the spirit. Respect the space that you're in. Challenging a spirit is never good because you don't know what spirit you're dealing with. We might say, we're paranormal investigators, we get X amount of experience, we can do it, we know this or we know that knowledge. You don't know, Jack, when you're on an investigation, because you don't know what spirit you're dealing with. Nobody knows. And it could be presenting itself as a harmless spirit, but in fact it's a dark entity or a demon. And often that's how dark entity and demons present themselves to begin with, because they need to be able to gain your trust.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, so avoid provoking. Don't challenge the spirits. Respect the space you're in. Talk to the spirits with respect. Respect that it's their space that you're now in. So that was a big one. Don't challenge the spirits. Don't do it. Reach out. Paranormal teams like ours can help. We can help. We can give you some answers. We can't fix the problem. We can't cure the problem. And we're not pretending that we can. What we can do is give you that word I used earlier, validation. We can give you validation. We can validate how you feel. We can validate the experiences that you've had through our instrumentation and all the tools that we use in this field. So reach out to us, whether it's our paranormal team or another paranormal team in your own area. Reach out to them. Don't be scared. Nobody's going to think you're crazy, especially a paranormal team. They're going to listen to you. They're going to take your concerns into consideration, and they're most likely going to want to help. And here's a big thing as well. Most paranormal teams, when they do this, we do it for free. We're not taking money. We're not looking for money from people. We're doing this for free because we're passionate. It's what we love doing. and they want to help people. So
Yeah.
be mindful that good paranormal teams will not charge you money, and trust your gut. Intuition often picks up what science hasn't caught yet. So always trust your gut. Your intuition is always right. How many times have you said that in the past? I wish I'd trusted my gut.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of us.
Too often.
Yeah, I think we always. I don't want to say we always, but a lot of times we feel things, we see things, or whatever the case may be, and you know, I'm sure everybody's experienced that moment where even just a person where you're just like, I don't have a best feeling about this person or whatever the case may be. And I would say nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, you're gonna be right. You know, everybody has their own little spidey sense type of thing, and it doesn't have to be with just individuals. It could be paranormal. It could be something that you're feeling that you know.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, guys, we're at the end of the podcast. We made it to the end of episode 2. Well, I think we should all give ourselves a little round of applause, little clap. All right. So thank you for joining me for episode 2 of the Solano Paranormal Podcast, Haunted Homes. If you've experienced something in your own home, we'd love to hear from you. Visit us at solanoparanormal.com and click submit your story. Next week on episode 3 of Solano Paranormal Podcast, shadow people. We're going to be talking about shadow people. Hallucination, spirit, or something else. So stay tuned for that. All right. So that wraps it up for today. I want to thank Roman for being here with me in the studio. I want to thank Micah and Eddie for being there at home and being awesome participants and joining us. They're an integral part of the team. These two guys have been part of the team since the very beginning. Roman just joined us. He's going to be taking part in the comic book investigation for the first time, the comic book store. So that's going to be excellent. Stay tuned on the website for upcoming information on the next investigation. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. I want to thank everybody very, very much. And we'll talk to you next week at the same time, the same place, and the same team. Good night, everybody.
Not everyone.